students, this is Shivakrishna working as a assistant professor in civil engineering department, Anurag Engineering College. Now we are coming to discuss about the third unit of disaster preparedness and planning management. Here, coming to third unit, first of all we have to once revision of that first and second units. In that first unit, we have to totally classify the disaster and hazards and what are the types of disasters may be occurred in that particular scenario. And coming to second units, here we are detailing of that what are the natural disasters and what are the man-made disasters should be involved in that particular situation, and what are the examples of natural disasters and examples of mm, man-made disasters, how it should be acting on that particular location or particular place, how to take the causes and what are the precautions and how to mitigate on that particular disaster or hazard. We all are learned in the second unit. Now coming to third unit, that is disaster impacts. So, in that disaster impacts, how much impact should be occurring through that disaster in this particular situation? Here, the disaster may be natural or man-made. Here, natural disasters are there and man-made disasters are there. Already we know. And what are the causes and development plus political issues? These all are causes to forming the disasters or hazards. For this, we have to impacts means various types of impacts may be involved in that particular scenario. Disaster impacts individual physically through loss of life and injury or health problems or disable problems. These all are mainly occurred one particular hazard or disaster, and some of them we are mentally and we are psychologically we are disturbed in that particular situation. So we can alter the natural environment and loss of habitat to many plants and animals and cause ecological stress that result in the biodiversity losses. Impact of disasters. See here, this is the rotating cycle. Here, disaster events, it should be categorized into physical, economic, environmental impacts, and economical impact should be mainly focuses on that hazard or disaster. Here, the disaster event, physically we are losing the loss of life and health and injuries. This all are comes under physical damage, and environmental means total disturbing of that environment, and economical point of view we are loss of infrastructure and facilities and unwanted situations. This type of events may be acting on that particular situation. Likely effects on disaster impacts on environmental components and assets. See here, we are taking the some of the impact components like first of all air. What are the effects of that air? Air should be causing it should air pollution, toxic releases and climatic changes, global warming contribution. These all are hazards due to forming through air only. So this type of many hazards or activities may be involved due to air only. So this type of hazards, it should be given to impacts are very high. And coming to water, what are the water related hazards here? Water pollution, water scarcity, chemical spillage, waste discharge, loss of aquatic life, and eutrophication. Eutrophication means losing of nutrients. Okay, and land means soil erosion, soil contamination. That is also one of the disaster or hazard, and wetland loss and land use conflicts and debris or waste. Okay, and crop damage means here that is depending upon the humidity or that is depending upon the temperature, the crop should be damaged and crops failure and pre-crop condition failures and quality loss. And wildlife means loss of habitats like animal death, illness, migration, food scarcity. These all are impacts only. Okay, like individual impact should be more, and livestock's animal death, loss of fodder, illness, next breeding troubles and migration. These all are facing the livestock. And forests, in the forest vegetation damage, and structural failures, and product loss. These are all comes under in forests. Next, waste means um, carcasses, debris, damaged goods, e-waste, hazardous waste. These all are coming into waste disposal. Okay, disaster environmental impact matrix. See here, S means secondary, L means very less, and I means indirect, D means direct. So this impact was, for example, we have to take the flood disaster. In that flood disaster, the air, how to influence on that particular disaster. Air in the flood point of view, air it is a very level, or in the very low level in the flood point of view, and secondary, that is, but water direct. Flood means it is the unexpected water coming in to the villages or towns, so it is direct. And land also very highly damaged, so this is also a direct impact. And crops also we are losing the so much of crops, so that is also direct. And wildlife means in the forest the flood may be occurred. In that situation, the animals and plants and trees were destroyed. And livestock, forests, these all are due to floods. These all are direct impacts only. And coming to cyclone, air, yeah, very, it is very dependable. Why? Because that should be depending upon the wind pressures. Wind should be air rotation only, so that is also direct. And water, that cyclone will be occurred in the water area. The water should be directly converted. And land also damaged, and crops also damaged, wildlife also damaged, livestock and forest and waste, these all are direct impacts only. Draughts means air and droughts, it should be interrelated, so that's why the air should be indirect phenomena. And the water, drought means it should be causing by lack of water, so it is the direct impact. Land, it should be loss of nutrients, so this is also direct impact. Crops, in the water scarcity the crops will be go down. So in that situation it should be direct assessment only. And wildlife, like animals, plants, no water scarcity, so that's why in that situation it should be direct impact only. And livestock, forest also direct impact. And earthquake, secondary and primary. And nuclear weapons, that is also direct air, and secondary also. And transport means case specific location. Some of the examples are there. And impacts on tropical cyclones, taking one example, what is the tropical cyclone? Landfall and associated with environmental loss. Due to forming of a cyclone, effect on the local tribes, yes, that is the main effect. And the effect of the local coastal configuration due to cyclone, okay, it is also direct assessment. And low atmospheric pressure in the center. What is the cyclone? Where the atmospheric pressure should have maintained to zero values, that is the cyclone. Okay, so in that situation, the cyclone will be formed. And storm surge, and flooding of low-lying coast areas, yes, loss of food, flooding, and erosion of branch beaches. Beaches should be eroded. The topsoil totally eroded on that particular location. And damage of onshore, and damage of shipping and fishing facilities, and urban brush fire, and loss of human lives and injuries. And damage to structures and content, loss of communication and power, flooding. And the next one, loss of soil fertility, and land subsidence and contamination. These all are coming to cyclone only. This type of impacts may be occurred through cyclones. Chemical disasters, how to impact a chemical disaster? First of all, living organisms, humans, it should be very affected. And livestock, it should be very affected. And plants also very affected. So these humans, livestock, and plants, it should be deaths in some cases. and injury, get the injury some cases, and disease and disability should be occurred in some cases. But non-living organisms, soil, water bodies should be contaminated. So in that situation, the loss of nutrients are very high. Mm, Atmosphere pollution, it should be occurred. Next, environment disaster interface. Here, environment disaster, what type of included means, this to be total complex word. This should be affected on population growth and losses, high exposure to hazard locations, and low capacity, coping capacity. These all are interlinked. One effect should be affected to another effect. One impact should be affected to another impact in that situation. Next, impact of disasters physically. What are the physical impacts? Injuries. Directly, we are going to hospitals and take the treatment. Next, death. One hazard or disaster should be forming at that particular location. Death will be very fine. And physical disability, burns, epidemic means danger situation, and weakness, physical illness, sanitation, miscarriage, yeah, and reproductive health, fatigue and loss of sleep, and loss of appetite. Economic point of view, these all are comes under physical point of view only. Coming to economic point of view, the some of the impact should be going on that disasters, that is economical point of view, are seeing the loss of life and unemployment, loss of livelihood and loss of properties, and loss of household articles, and loss of crops, and loss of public infrastructure. These all are comes under economical point of view. And coming to social point of view, changes in individual role. So every human should have to capable to own risk, and he losing the loss of life, and he may cause very tough injuries occurring due to hazards, and disruption of social fabric and isolation. Next, change in marital status, and sexual abuse and domestic violence, orphans and single parent children, and family migrations, lifestyle changes and breakdown. These all are coming to social. And one more impact is also there, that is psychological impacts. In the psychological impacts, distress may be occurred psychologically, and flashbacks. Some of the humans lost the memory in the situation, or they are unconscious to getting in the unconscious, and intrusion and avoidance, and revenge, dependence, insecurity. Next, withdrawn isolation, guilty feeling, hypervigilance, lack of trust, and helplessness, hopelessness. These are the physical and socio-economic of disasters. Physical impacts means already we have discussed in that previous slide: death, injury of people, damage to the built environment. These are the physical impact. Rapid means it is a quick response. The quick assessment of a disaster set immediately after disaster to determine the immediate needs of the people, like temporary shelters, etc. etc. Had to provide on that particular location. Social impact means it is a disruption to essential goods and services. Next, built environment means includes such things, that is building and infrastructure, houses, etc. in that particular area. And coming to physical infrastructure, damage the property to build environment. Here, infrastructure includes the basic facilities and services, and the installations required for the functioning of a community or society. Examples, critical infrastructure means transport system, like land transport, sea transport, air transport. It is the very mandatory to every human. Okay, so this is the first you have to give the main priority to develop after disaster. And the second one, gas and oil storage and transportation. This type of infrastructures are developing very high. Next one, communication. Communication, it is a very important to provide alternative and electricity, water supply system, public health and security, physical security, and looting of retail outlets and business houses, security for women and children, and security for aid works and nationality. And social impacts, coming to social impacts, welfare. First, you have to provide the welfare on that particular disturbed people, and economic impacts, you have to provide the economical point of view. Okay. In this economic cost, we have to across the space and time. So evidence suggests to strong correlation between the country level and development and disaster risk. Uh, Example, Bangladesh floods during the monsoon season. It destroys the crops and health and economy of that country. In that situation, the states or countries have to give the economical support to rehabilitate that total structure or total humans. So this type of impacts may be developed on that particular disasters, so may be occurred commonly. Okay, thank you, students.